Hello and welcome to an Envato Tuts Plus tutorial. I'm Adi Purdila, and in today's video, I'm going to show you how to create an animated page transition with JavaScript. And for that, we'll be using a JavaScript library called Highway. Now, before we get started, please note that this tutorial is a bit more advanced. We'll be using the command line to compile ES6 to ES5 JavaScript, and we'll also be using some of the new ES6 JavaScript syntax. So if you're not familiar with JavaScript at all, this might be a bit hard for you to understand. With that said, let me show you what we'll be working with. Now, I created a simple demo website here. It has 3 pages, a home page, a portfolio, and a contact page. And what I want to do is create a nice page transition when I'm switching between these 3 pages. Right now, when I do that, the entire page reloads. But because the header and the footer is the same on all 3 pages, I only want to change this section in the middle, basically the main page content. So for the home page, this starts here and it ends with these 2 images. On the portfolio, it starts with the title and it has this gallery. And for the contact, we basically have this page title and a form. And for that, we'll be using the Highway.js library to basically reload just this middle portion when we switch between pages instead of reloading the whole page. So there are a few steps we need to do to get started. First of all, we need Node.js. And to check if you have Node installed, what you can do is open up a terminal, and you can do that from your operating system. You have one on Mac OS, you have one on Windows, on Linux, of course. But also, if you're using Visual Studio Code, like I am here, we have a built-in terminal that we can use. And this will, of course, be different depending on your operating system. I'm using Windows right now, so I have access to Windows PowerShell. So to check if you have Node installed, what you can do is say node-v. So it tells me term node is not recognized. That means it is not installed. If you get a version number, then you have Node installed. Now to install it, what you can do is go to nodejs.org, download the LTS version, and install it. This will automatically detect your operating system, and it will offer you the correct download. Once you download it, proceed to the installation. On Windows, this will also install Chocolatey, which is like a package manager. And of course, this will install all the packages that it needs. Right now, it's installing Python. Just let it do its thing. Right, and once that's done, we can go back to a terminal and check if Node was installed correctly, and there it is. It gives me version 14.15.1. Now, I opened up a separate terminal here because the one inside VS Code was bugging out a little bit. It still gave me that error about Node missing. So from this point forward, we're going to be using a separate terminal. All right. Now, the next thing we have to do is install something called Parcel. Now, Parcel is a great tool that allows us to compile ES6 code. It also creates a live server for us. It compiles Sass. It does a lot of awesome things. So to install Parcel, we're going to do npm, which is Node Package Manager, install -g to install this globally, and we'll say Parcel Bundler. Now, for those of you who don't know, npm is the Node Package Manager, and we can use it to, well, manage Node packages. We can install, we can uninstall, we can update certain packages. It's very, very powerful. Now, while this is installing, I'm going to try to quickly explain this -G here. -G stands for globally. So when installing a package with npm, you can do it in two different ways. You can install it locally on your working directory, and that's going to be available only for that project, or you can install it globally, which means you can use it from any project. And we chose to install it globally because Parcel is a tool that we'll probably be using in other projects in the future. And there we go. It took about 70 seconds and it installed Parcel for us. Now, I have a working folder in my desktop. It's called Air, and this contains the source code that we'll be updating for this page, right? And as you can see here, we have the 3 pages: index.html, portfolio HTML, and contact HTML. And I also have an SCSS style sheet. This really has nothing to do with the page transitions we'll do today. It's just here to give the page a little bit of styling. I have a CSS file compiled from this SCSS. And I also have a blank scripts.js file. Now, the very first step is to add some node modules into our project here. So for that, I'm gonna navigate to my working directory. So cd or change directory. I'm gonna go to my desktop, tutorial Highway, and Air. And by the way, if you don't know the exact path, you can just type it like this. Here, I'll do it again. DE for desktop, hit tab, and the terminal will automatically find the path for you. I know I have a folder called tutorial there, and Air. All right, so this is now my working directory, and inside I'm going to do npm init. I'm basically going to initialize a package.json file, and the package file will basically house all the node dependencies we'll be using. Here, it's really not important. Just hit enter, 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 enter until you reach the very end, and just hit enter again. And that will create this package.json file. And you'll see in a little bit, this will get updated with all the node packages that we'll be using. Now, for this tutorial, we'll be using 2 node packages. One is GSAP that we'll be using for animation, and one is Highway that we'll be using for the actual transitions between pages. So to install, I'm going to say npm install GSAP, and this will install it locally. As you can see, this created a new folder called node modules, and inside I have a new folder called GSAP. And also, package.json was updated to list GSAP as a dependency. Finally, I'm going to do npm install, this time Dog Studio /highway. And just like before, this will install the Highway package. It's going to add it to my node modules, and it will also update the package.json. All right, now what about Parcel? Well, Parcel is a very cool tool, and to demonstrate its capabilities really quickly, because we don't have a lot of time in this tutorial, I'm going to do the following. Instead of listing or linking to style.css, I'm going to link to style.scss directly in my HTML page. And when we run Parcel, it's going to look at all of these dependencies, and it's going to compile Sass for us, which is fantastic. Now, to get started with Parcel, all you have to do is say Parcel and run it on an HTML page. In my case, it's index.html, and we do have a little bit of an error here. So let's see. Running scripts is disabled on this system. All right. So let me quickly Google this and see what's up and why I'm getting this error. All right. So after a quick Google, I found that there were some insufficient permissions or something like that. Basically, I just executed this in the terminal. And now when we run parcel index.html, it's creating a server running at localhost 1234, and it's building our package. And if we go back here, we can see that it automatically created a dist folder for us, and it basically compiled all of the JavaScript, CSS, images, and it created this running server. So we can actually copy it and we can open it up. And as you can see, this is basically a running copy of the static files we had before. But now this also compiled Sass for us. So for example, if I go into my style.scss and I change the body padding to, I don't know, 13 rems, and I do a save, right? This will automatically reload the page because it's running on a live server, and it automatically compiles Sass for us, which is a fantastic tool. Now, since we have this running, let's go ahead and implement Highway.js and show you how to create those nice page transitions. To get started, we must first alter the markup of our page. So we need to add two elements, a data router wrapper and a data router view. The wrapper is basically the container of the content that's going to be changed. The view is the content that's going to be changed. So it works something like this. We're going to use the main as a wrapper, and we just add the attribute data router wrapper. And the section is the content that we're going to change. And I'm going to say data router view, and we can give this a name for referencing it later. And that's it. And the way this works is very simple. When we change the page from, let's say, the navigation menu, the data router view will get swapped from the view from the other page, right? So now let's go to portfolio and we'll do the same thing. We'll say data router wrapper here and data router view here, and we'll say portfolio. So for example, when we switch from index to portfolio, this bit will be replaced with this bit, with the whole section. That's the way the Highway library works. And we'll go ahead and do the same on the contact page. We'll call this contact. Now, something else that we need to change here is to remove all the markup that we don't need. So I'm going to remove the header and I'm going to remove the footer. We don't need these in the contact and portfolio pages because we have them in the index page and they'll be taken from here. The only thing I'm going to leave in these pages is the actual wrapper and the view. So let's do the same here and the footer as well. And save. Great. Now in terms of markup, this is the only thing that we need to do. Now, if we go to the portfolio page, you'll notice that, of course, we're missing the header and the footer, but that will all be fixed in just a little bit. Now, let's open up our scripts.js file, and actually let's create a new file. I'm going to call this fade.js. Of course, you can call it whatever you want. And this is where we'll write the bulk of our script. And in here, it goes something like this. We'll start by importing Highway from Dog Studio Highway. Next, we'll import gsap, and we'll say import tween from gsap. Next, we'll create the fade class. So we'll say class fade extends highway.transition. Basically, we're using the transition class available in Highway to create our own fade class. And this can be whatever name you want it to be. Finally, what I can do is export the fade class, so we can then import it into our main JavaScript file. And here, I'm just going to say export default fade. Now, this is ES6 code, but because we're running parcel, this is constantly translating ES6 into ES5 code, which is more compatible with the majority of the browsers. So, what about this this fade class? How does it work? Well, we have access to two methods here. We have access to in and out. In refers to the page that's coming in. For example, if we change from home to portfolio, the page that's coming in is the portfolio. The page that's going out is the home. And we have access to these, and we can decide how we want to animate them. Now, inside here, I'm going to use object deconstruction to get access to from, to, and done. From, in our case, is the index page content. To is the portfolio page content, and done is something that we call when we're done animating. This is very important. This is how we tell Highway that I'm done animating this page. So the first thing I'm going to do here is remove the old content. So when I click on portfolio, I want to remove the content of the home page and replace it with the content from my portfolio page, right? That's really easy to do. I can say from, and remember, from refers to the content on the current page, remove. Then I'm going to do the animation. And for the animation, I'm going to use gsap, and I'm going to say tween from to, and I'm going to say I want the next page content, which is 2, animation duration is 0.5, and then I want to go from opacity 0 to opacity 1, and I can call onComplete is done. So when this from to transition is complete, I'm going to call done, which is letting Highway know, okay, I'm finished animating this page. Now on the out, I'm going to do object deconstruction again, but this time it's going to be from and done. And inside here, I'm just going to do an animation. So this is the page going out. Okay, this is the index. Now, if I just want to hide it and not animate it, I can simply say done. And actually, let's do this for now so you can see how this works. Now, this is the fade.js file. We need to import this into our main scripts file. And I'm going to start with importing Highway here as well from Dog Studio Highway. And I'm also going to import fade from fade.js, which is the file that we just created. And then I'm going to define a constant. You can call this whatever you want. We need to reference the highway core or load the highway core just once. Okay, now inside here, I'm going to basically set all of the transitions to fade as a default. And then we should be good to go. Now, let's go to the page. And when we click the portfolio link, only this middle section, this main section, should reload. The rest should remain the same. So let's see. Cool. See how only the middle section changes now? And notice the location in the browser. I'm actually going to that portfolio HTML page, to that contact page, index page. Right, so the navigation works perfectly. Now, because I did not animate the index page when it's going out, we end up with this kind of weird transition, right? And we can actually make it a lot better. So instead of just calling done here, we can create an animation as well. So I'm going to say tween from to, and actually I'm going to just copy this. And the only thing that I'm going to change is in here. I'm going to say from opacity 1 to opacity 0. And incomplete, I'm also going to call done. So basically, when I'm switching pages, I'm taking the existing content and I'm transitioning it from opacity 1 to opacity 0 over 0.5 seconds. And then I'm bringing in the other content and I'm animating it or transitioning it from opacity 0 to opacity 1. So now with this change in place, you'll see that the page transition is much smoother, right? When I switch, I fade out the existing content and I fade in the new content. Awesome. So that's how you can create an animated page transition using Highway. Now, one last thing we need to do here, the menu doesn't change, right? It stays the same. The active menu item doesn't change. And that's because this is outside of the content that's being changed. But we can do that. We can change it very easily by tapping into an event inside Highway. So quickly, we'll say get menu links. We'll create a constant links document query selector all, and we'll say nav a, and then we're going to listen to the navigate in event. So we're going to say h, which is the highway core dot on navigate in, and in here we'll also do an object deconstruction and we'll pass in to and location, and then we're going to be using an arrow function. And here you can basically go through each link with a for loop, or in my case, I chose to do that with a for each loop. So I'm going to say links dot for each, and inside we'll just remove the old class or remove the active class. I'm going to say link class list, remove active, and then add the active class to the active link. And this is if link.href equals location link.href. Then I'm going to say link class list add active. All right, so with that done, now when we go back to our index, you'll see that the navigation also updates. And it's really quite simple how we did that. We just grabbed all the navigation links. We listened to the navigate in event inside Highway. And then whenever the event triggered, we went through each link. We removed the class of active if it had it. And if the link href matched the location href, or what we had here, then we just added the active class to that link. And that's how you can create an animated page transition with Highway.js. As I was saying, this is a bit more on the advanced side, so I hope you understood the process. If you didn't, leave a comment down below and I'll try to explain it a little bit better. Also, if you want to take this a little bit further and create more advanced transitions, you can definitely do that with Highway.js. Just check out the official documentation they have and see some of the other examples they give. What I showed you here was intentionally simpler so you could understand the whole process a little bit better, but you can definitely do some more advanced transitions with Highway. With that said, thank you for watching this tutorial. I'm Adi Pordila, and until next time, take care.